Welcome back to the channel, guys. As you can see, we have a new tech review here, reviewing the PlayStation VR2. As you can see from what I'm holding and the title of the video here, we're going to be giving you guys my impressions and review of Sony's, I guess, flagship VR headset. Not that there's much competition, I guess, but regardless, we're going to be giving you a review here. And I know I made a review of the MetaQuest 3, a competing, VR headset recently. This is not a what to buy or is one better than the other. This is a solo only review of the PlayStation VR2. And while I make comparisons to the PlayStation VR1 or the MetaQuest 3 or some other headsets, it is not a comparison video or anything like that. I'm just going to give you my impressions and thoughts on the PlayStation VR2. I know I kind of in the last video I kind of had a few things I really want to hone in on and kind of a few different categories I went through. I'm going to be going to those same categories and giving you my thoughts on all of them and adding one category for price at the end that I didn't really add into my review last video. As you may have seen in the description of the last video, I failed to mention it, but I do have a summarized review of my thoughts on, for that, the MetaQuest 3 or whatever I'm reviewing in the description out of 5 and then a total score out of 10 with a recommendation. I will do that for this video if you want a quick kind of no audio review or my thoughts on the PlayStation VR2, just go and look for that. And just a quick, in a nutshell, review for people who don't want to sit around on this video for too long. The PlayStation VR2 is a good headset, especially for this holiday price and bundle. And it is a powerful VR headset. It's very competent. It's a solid option for a lot of things that you could potentially want to do. It does have a few shortcomings, but we'll get to those in a minute. But it's overall a good headset and a great improvement if you're a PlayStation VR1 user. And if you have the money and if you already have a PlayStation 5 and you want to get into VR, or you already like VR and you want to upgrade to something that's very capable, I'd recommend the PlayStation VR2, especially on the holiday deals right now. And I kind of want to force this video out right before Christmas, at least before Christmas Day, so somebody at least has some time to watch this and consider if they want to get it as a gift, or even after Christmas, take advantage of the holiday deal and bundle, and maybe if they want to pick it up, save some money there, obviously. So yeah, let's get into the review here. The first kind of category I want to go to is arguably maybe one of the most important things, especially when doing a tech review, is the tech and specs of the PlayStation VR2. Now again, this isn't a comparison video, but if you're an original user from the PlayStation VR1, this is virtually upgraded and better in every, especially tech wise, in virtually every way that you can, upgrade a VR headset. The resolution and the viewing experience and the lenses are better. They have, higher refresh rate, especially since part of, I'll show the VR headset now. It's wired, of course, like the PlayStation VR1. You have this long wire that plugs into PlayStation 5. You are taking advantage of a more powerful and newer console, so that obviously helps run the system here at a higher resolution and higher frame rates, and just overall makes it a more powerful machine on top of it being a more powerful and newer headset here. As you can see, the cord is very long, but on top of that, the lenses are improved. I don't want to get into the comfort yet because that'll be a separate category. As you can see, there's a physical appearance difference. These have cameras. These have pass-through cameras, which I don't believe the PlayStation VR had. They are in black and white, the pass-through cameras, but they are here, so that is something. They have pass-through cameras here. It's, you know, it's got a very good connection wire. The connection type just plugs right into your PlayStation 5, either the two front ports there with the USB, I believe C. I'm not a huge tech nerd when it comes to connections and stuff, niche stuff like that, but I believe it does USB-C. That's what it connects into the PlayStation 5. So tech spec wise, this is one of the more powerful kind of headsets on the market right now. Obviously, when you go to place or PC VR, stuff can out trump this or the MetaQuest 3 because if you plug it into like kind of what's behind me over there, oh, getting used to like the reverse thing, but the PC, if you plug it into a supercomputer of a gaming PC, obviously something that's running off of a console or running standalone like the Quest line of headsets can do, it's going to be more powerful. Obviously, that's just kind of just a given thing. But for what it is, it's a very competent, powerful headset. The tech specs on it are great. The one big thing, and I'm pretty sure I'd include this in the tech spec kind of application of it, it's lenses. And again, I don't want to do comparison video here, but the lenses are not pancake lenses like you see in the MetaQuest 3. I don't really want to. I don't really know if I can show the lenses there. Not pancake lenses, as you can see there. It is, I can't remember the word for the other type of lenses that a lot of headsets use as opposed to the newer kind of higher end pancake lenses seen in the Quest 3 and some other headsets as well. But it's lacking that feature. But a feature that it does have that not a ton of even newer VR headsets have, but especially some of the older ones you might have seen, it does have eye tracking. The It does have eye tracking features, which is a pretty cool and nice kind of feature to have. It's not like a selling point or decider of like, oh, I'm getting this VR headset over this because it has eye tracking or something, but it is cool. For like an application and gaming thing, it's helpful for menus and stuff or selecting or picking up items. You can look at something or look at a menu option, and wherever your eyes are going, it will track that, and you can just select it right off that instead of having to move your joystick around and like with the laser and select it like that. It also kind of another part of the idea of eye tracking, especially going further into the future with future VR headsets too. Hopefully more will or all will see eye tracking integrated into it. Is saving on like computing power and like just energy, I guess. But wherever you're looking, it can see where in the game you are looking and really make that like field of view of where your eyes are mainly looking at very crisp, very sharp, fully use the system as it's intended to. And the peripheral vision stuff that you can still theoretically see, but you're not really looking at it or focusing on it at all, and it's not incredibly important, isn't as, upscaled or isn't as sharp as it can be because it really doesn't need to be. So I think eye tracking is a pretty cool feature that has, and I know the Apple Vision Pro or the Apple Vision whatever headset has that too. And I want to say something like the Valve Index may have it. I can't really remember. I haven't looked. I don't own one, and I haven't really looked too much into the features of that. But eye tracking is a cool feature. I do like that. The lenses are kind of a bummer. Now having experienced the pancake lenses as compared to this or any other headset without pancake lenses, you do see a difference in the resolution, the quality of the image you're looking at. It's a noticeable difference, especially when you can switch back and forth so rapidly between the two if you use both a lot. That is a bummer, but that's not to say the lenses are bad. They're still very good. It's still a very good image. It's still a very good quality game, whatever you're playing. So personally speaking, it's not a massive issue, but it is a bummer not to have. Another thing that kind of goes into the last thing with the headset here is the audio. So the audio, there is a microphone built into the headset, or there is a microphone that you can use so you can talk to people and they can hear you. It's not amazing, but it gets the job done, especially if you don't have a headset or any other microphone that you want to put over top of it that's compatible, especially if you I don't know if they make you use the PlayStation like first party headsets or not, but if they do, save some money there. What comes, with the headset out of the box are these earbuds that they give you. These are the earbuds that come out of the box with it. This is what's given to you for your, audio input, what you're hearing. They are fairly comfortable. I haven't really had a problem with it. The audio quality is pretty good. Um, I haven't had a problem hearing. The audio quality is fine. It's nothing spectacular, obviously, given what it is, but it's fine. It gets the job done. They're fairly comfortable. It's nice that they're included. And basically, what that does is there's a little bar here you can see that like pushes into the headphone jack and another thing to secure it over here. And this is where your kind of headphones hang, and then it kind of very kind of ergonomically kind of goes up to your ear, so you can put it in. It's actually pretty convenient. Audio quality could be better, obviously, and it is earbuds. If you're not a fan of those, I'm not sure. Everyone's got a personal preference, but they are fairly comfortable. This is the ones that comes with, like the little add-on it comes with, and then it comes with a little pack of two other sizes, I guess, of inserts. If you don't like those, you can kind of customize that a little bit, which is a nice little feature that's added. So the audio is okay. It's nothing spectacular, especially if you're got a higher end headset for like flat screen gaming, of course. The last thing with the headset, I guess, is the cord. This is the USB-C cord that runs to the back of the headset with the Halo strap and plugs in on the other end to your PlayStation 5. The cord is good. It's a good cord. It's a fairly good length. I'm not sure the exact like how many meters or feet the cord is, but just for scale, I guess that's as I'm trying to hold up all the cords here and kind of give you some idea. It's you have some room. You'll definitely have some room to kind of move around and walk around with, and not feeling like you're gonna yank your PlayStation 5 off its display or wherever you keep it. It's not bad. Although I will say, coming from a MetaQuest 3 user or past MetaQuest users where standalone is a big selling point, having a wired headset, especially one that's not necessarily going to be used for PC VR, the wire is kind of a downside. I only play wired VR when I use my PlayStation VR, or I have to plug in to play. You don't have to plug in to play MetaQuest 3 or PC VR anymore, but I personally choose to. Those are the only two times I plug in, and I can say standalone, in my opinion, I'm not saying it's our near future for every headset, but I think it should be the future for VR. Having a wire kind of limit your movements, limit your ability. No matter how long the wire is, it's still always right here. It's still always felt. It's still a limiting factor no matter how long of the wire, either the quality of the wire because of how long the connection is, or limiting as far as how far you can move from wherever it's plugged in. So that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of wired VR, but it's something that's always been around, of course, obviously. The being plugged into PlayStation 5 does help with the overall power of the system, obviously. So that's another argument to make for that, even though the headset itself is fairly powerful too. So it's kind of a give or take between power and having a great connection to a powerful console there or PC for a different headset, and having the mobility of like a standalone wireless headset. So that's kind of a give or take thing, but for me personally, I prefer kind of the standalone of the MetaQuest 3 just because I don't like the wire as if I don't have to have it. But it is a fairly long wire. It does give it some more power, obviously, with the console, and it's not incredibly invasive or annoying if you have the right setup for it. The last thing with the tech isn't a part of the headset, it is the controller. I haven't showed you this yet, but this is what the PlayStation VR2 controllers look like. They are these kind of orb looking things. Your hand goes in kind of the back here, grabs the controller. This is the right one, obviously. And it fits in your hand pretty ergonomically, and it really kind of fits well. I mean, it feels comfortable in my hand. It feels natural. Do I think it's something Valve Index level? Not necessarily. I think those are the best VR head controllers ever made, both with the comfort and the finger tracking, obviously. But this is good. It's got a button on the side there. It's got the main trigger, and it's got your X and circle button and your joystick and a home PlayStation button that's not really focusing at all there, but it's there. It's got the orb thing, and then it's got your safety strap. Safety strap is nice, especially with this little like I don't know what this ball bearing like thing, which the idea is you can just like rotate your arm and you're supposed to be able to do it without having to like manually put it up with your other hand. I've found that it doesn't really work well for me. I don't know. It might just be because I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong and looking like an idiot, but I tend to have to grab this as like a counterbalance, and then you can just rotate your arm, and it's there. I like the safety strap design. I like the controller design. Do I like it as much as something like the MetaQuest 3? It's arguable. Some people like these kind of rings and these domes here because it really makes your hand almost feel like it's in something and more secure almost. Some people don't like it because it gets in the way, especially in multiplayer games when you're trying to reload guns. They tend to clank against each other. It's a personal preference. I'd say this is a mighty, mighty fine controller. It's very comfortable. It fits in my hand well. Um, it runs well. The tracking seems to be very good on these. I haven't really had any major issues there for tracking. They feel comfortable. The safety strap is good. They work well. There's no like drift or anything. There is haptic feedback in the controller as well as like adaptive trigger and resistance there, like there is on the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. It's overall a very comfortable, very good, fun controller, and I like the designs personally, especially compared to the PlayStation VR1. Those motion controllers were I'll give them points for creativity and uniqueness, but apart from that, there's not much going for that. So yeah, kind of wrapping up the tech specs, like kind of category here. Given a rank out of 5, I'd give PlayStation VR2 as a whole. The tech specs, I'd give a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is one of the most powerful, I think this is one of the newer and more powerful headsets on the market, and it's more than competent regardless of its few shortcomings. Moving on to comfort, which arguably is a very, just as important of a thing, especially for a VR headset when you're talking about gaming systems. Comfort, as you can remember from the last video on the MetaQuest 3, I believe was its lowest category, especially out of the box. I mean, because third party, of course, you can turn anything into like a fucking, mansion or Ferrari. But we're talking about just out of the box as it comes, out of the box here. So for that, this is going. I'm gonna just spoil right now. It's gonna get a higher grade than the MetaQuest 3 because this is legitimately a comfortable headset right out of the box. I have felt no need to really upgrade or do anything to change either the controllers or the headsets in its comfort and functionality. It is very comfortable. First of all, let's just get the controllers out of the way since this is a smaller piece of the pie, and I've already kind of talked about, my comfort. Fits very well into your hand. The safety strap design fits well. It feels good. It's not invasive at all. It's ball bearing kind of design where you don't have to like manually with your other hand do it if you don't want to and you figure that out better than I do is nice. It fits into my hand well. I feel this feels natural to hold like this. It has a cool design to it. I think they look kind of cool as well, which is style points, I guess, goes to comfort too. The adaptive feedback and the haptic feedback and the adaptive, resistance triggers feels really good. I like comfort quite a bit for the controllers. These are great VR controllers. Far from I mean, I was gonna say far from the worst, but that makes it sound kind of like middle of the pack. I'd say these are one of the better VR controllers I've seen. Definitely better than like the older Quest and Oculus controllers. Definitely better than a major improvement from the first PlayStation VR when it comes to controllers and ergonomics. These are good. The tracking is good. I like these controllers. And the left one, I know I don't have it here, but it's just a flipped image basically in every way. Just different button symbols, obviously. Now getting on to the main piece here, the headset itself. Just grabbing this. As you can see, it's kind of got like a halo strap here design that is going for. There's a button on the back that you can press in to kind of widen this to however wide your head is. Cranking this wheel on the back, it doesn't do, oh, there it goes. Cranking that wheel on the back tightens it, and then you can press it to decompress, and then again widen it. That's how the head strap kind of works there. I like that system. I like that I can do that without having to leave VR2. It's a good system here. It feels good. This whole headset as a whole doesn't really feel cheap or anything. It feels secure. It feels solid. I've never had to, uh, worry about like throwing it or handling it too harsh and breaking it. It feels solid. It looks good. I like the white and black. It's kind of I guess the design of that and the original PlayStation VR1, It kind of looks like the PlayStation 5 as much as you can make a VR headset look like it. I like it. I think it's a pretty nice design. I like the Halo head straps personally over the Pro strap of some other people's preference, where it goes like kind of mohawk style across your head there. Obviously, since it plugs into PlayStation, you don't need a battery strap replacement for it. There is a lot of cushion both on the back and front that I find is very comfortable to wear, and it's got a good texture. It's got a good grip and texture so that you don't feel like you ever have a bunch of movement on your head with the VR headset. It's never slipping around or anything. It's secure on your head, and it has a lot of padding and it feels very good. Kind of next thing here is the facial interface. Again, this is how it comes out of the box as well. It's got this kind of silicone, kind of like, I don't know how to, layered kind of, I really don't know the word for how this like, it bunches up layer or whatever, but that's how it looks. It feels good. It's breathable. I've never had an issue of heat or fogging in this. It completely encompasses all my face, or my eyes where it sits on your head. There is no like light spots or anything leaking like in the MetaQuest 3. This is a very nice facial interface. I find it feels comfortable, breathable. It's completely encapsulating. I've had no desire to change this out for an aftermarket version, and from what I hear, most people don't either. It works very well, and the nose piece feels good too, as the little thing is there. It's a very nice facial interface. Had no real desire to change it out there. So head strap comfort, or head strap, and facial interface comfort wise, I think they did a great job out of the box. I'm sure you can even make it more bougie with aftermarket stuff if you wanted to, but I've had no real desire to do so. The head strap is it's pretty similar head strap design kind of to the original PlayStation VR, and I don't have much experience with actually wearing that for extended periods of times, but from what I've seen, it's somewhat similar, but it's very comfortable, is what I'll say. So yeah, I'd say for comfort of both the controller and the actual headset itself, I'd give it a 5. I mean, as far as VR headsets go, it's much more comfortable out of the box anyways than the MetaQuest 3 and most Oculus or MetaQuest headsets that I've seen or heard of. They did a great job not feeling like you need to make an additional investment upgrading the headset for it to be usable for long periods of time, like the MetaQuest 3. I think that's one of their biggest, improvements on the MetaQuest 3 and that whole line as a whole is the comfort of the PlayStation VR2. I give it a 5. I think it's one of the most comfortable out of the box headsets that's on the market right now and like up to date and new. And I really like it for that. Going on to kind of the next feature here, and the next category is the games/app and support, general support for it. Now, obviously, you're on the PlayStation Store for most of your games here, although recently Sony did introduce a PlayStation VR2 PC VR adapter, meaning you can plug it in to your PC and PlayStation and play PC VR games off of your PlayStation VR2 headset. So there's even more games and support for it now than there was, at launch. I'd say as far as this category goes, it does a pretty good job. Obviously now with open window and open door to PlayStation VR or PC VR, that gives you a huge new world to explore if you have that option and you have a laptop or PC capable of running VR. It really opens up that avenue if you want it. I think that's a great move by Sony. But even just mainline kind of in-house PlayStation VR support and options, there is a lot of games. There are hundreds of VR games available on the PlayStation Store that you can run through your PlayStation VR2 headset, and it is a big catalog of a lot of amazing games. Some, of course, only really available on PlayStation VR2, like Horizon Call of the Mountain, which I believe is just available on the PlayStation VR. There are some exclusives that are great, and stuff like Resident Evil is another one that comes to mind, obviously. Stuff like that is almost some of the best VR games you can play, especially when you go to the Resident Evil side of things. And they have a lot of great games that are available on other platforms too, available on theirs. It is a deep catalog of games that will keep you entertained for a long time and not keep you, you know, not lack in content. There has been some rumors lately that Sony, I want to say rumors, I want to stress rumors because nothing's been confirmed and they don't seem like they have much proof or some substance to them, that Sony is kind of canning, or not canning, but moving PlayStation VR2 and VR as a whole to the wayside and kind of just, letting it go and do its thing and not really actively, hugely supporting it anymore. But again, there's not a whole lot of substance to this. There's still a lot of games on there. They had the PC VR adapter recently. They have the sale recently, which sold a lot more headsets, I imagine, and got a lot more people into the PlayStation VR ecosystem. And they bundled it with one of their exclusive kind of flagship VR games with Horizon there. So I highly doubt, and there's not really any substance to the fact that the rumors that they're not really going to be supporting it much. It seems like it's quite the opposite, if anything. There might, especially with the sale and the new people coming in, that it's going to be, supported at the very least, if not much more kind of ramped up as far as, support and input goes for it. So I think it's a pretty good ecosystem on the PlayStation VR2. Do I think it's as quite as good as the Meta Quest 3 ecosystem of support for VR as well as access to what you have? I think it falls just short of the Meta and its store and its PC VR capabilities as well. Just because Meta has kind of rebranded and put a lot of eggs into this basket of VR. Meta at this point, I mean, they renamed it from Facebook to Meta for the metaverse for their headsets. They've put in a lot of chips on the table for this, and they're kind of solely, not, I don't want to say solely focused, but a large portion of the pie is going towards VR and that whole ecosystem for them. So it's a little different compared to the PlayStation VR2, where this is an accessory, supported, but still an accessory to the main flagship console of the PlayStation 5 and that whole line of consoles. So it's a little different, but still think there's a lot of support here. I'm going to be giving out of 5 the game and app support and everything category of this. I'm going to be giving this a 4.5 out of 5, which I believe is the same score I gave the MetaQuest 3. Now, the last category before price here, which is a new category, is functions and usage. This kind of bleeds into some other categories as well, as you can tell from the title, but functions, it runs VR games very well. It is one of the better VR headsets on the market, and I think it's a very powerful and competent headset. Some functions it has that others don't, again, are eye tracking, or, eye tracking, PlayStation VR or PC VR adapters, which before recently, um, the PlayStation VR1 did not have that. That's something that they improved on and kind of brought to the PlayStation VR2 with an adapter. It does have pass through, which is something that the old PlayStation VR1 does not have, but it does not have color pass through. It is in black and white, and there is no mixed reality support from what I've seen, anyways. I believe it is mostly, yeah, I don't think there is any mixed reality support for the PlayStation VR2 at the moment, like there is on the MetaQuest 3 of color pass through. It is just, kind of is what it is with that, unfortunately. So functions mainly focus on the traditional VR games. It's obviously unlike when the original PlayStation VR1 launched, it was, especially at the beginning of the launch, it was mainly kind of a sit down, or at least at the very most standing experience, because they originally didn't include the motion tracking camera or the controllers in the deal for the actual headset. So it was mostly a sitting, or if you wanted to stand, but it wouldn't really make a ton of a difference. And that is something that's very much changed with the PlayStation VR2. You can stand, you can sit, and you can do room scale like most VR headsets today. Now, usage and kind of who the target market for this is, which I'll get to in price as well a bit. This isn't a VR headset for somebody who doesn't already have a PlayStation 5, in my opinion. If somebody who's interested in getting into VR, wants to get into VR, wants a headset, if they don't already have a PlayStation 5, this is not the headset I would recommend them personally. This is a specific user, a specific market that is very big. I say specific, but I don't want to downscale how many people have PlayStation 5s, obviously, as their console choice. But this is a specific market of people that this is a good option for. And those are people who either already have a PlayStation 5 and want to get into VR or want to upgrade from the PlayStation VR1, or people who are already getting a PlayStation 5, have some extra money, and want to experience VR. Those are the two main categories, and they're very big categories, but still two main categories and use cases for people who want to buy the PlayStation VR2, as opposed to something like the Meta Quest 3, where you don't need a separate console to run it and to justify purchasing it or being able to even use it, obviously. So that is a bit of a, I guess, a drawback for PlayStation as far as selling their VR headset specifically. But again, it's still a large market share of people who fall into those categories that I mentioned. So for function and usage, I'm going to give PlayStation VR2 a 4 out of 5. I think they've made some great improvements on the last PlayStation VR1. They have had a lot of great features and usage cases for this. It's just not quite as robust for as a MetaQuest 3, which I gave a 5 to. Now, last category here is price. I wanted to save this for the end just because I feel like it kind of wraps up kind of well, because after talking about everything about the headset and showing it off and showcasing everything, it kind of helps explain the price a little more too. And I want to just address, going into the price category now. One rumor I heard, this was more, it's been dispelled by a number of channels and just people on the internet at this point. But this, I guess, just, I say rumor, but it's not even a rumor. It's just like false marketing or false blogging and advocating by these tech journalists or gaming review channels of the crazy price hike, especially at the launch price of the PlayStation VR2 from the PlayStation VR1, saying, "Oh, it's $150 difference. I could buy a PlayStation VR1 for $400 originally, but I can only buy this for $550 at launch. What is the $150 markup for?" But they didn't take into account really anything, and it's just a blatant lie as far as that price hike goes. It was not really a price hike in any way. When they told you that, they didn't include really any details or anything about anything. They didn't adjust for inflation of what, the two different years were that they both released. They didn't include the fact that originally the PlayStation VR1 only launched with the headset and obviously the cord and everything, the plug-in. It didn't launch with the motion tracking camera, and it didn't launch with the motion controls, meaning you couldn't really do standing and moving around a room scale VR yet. And you also had to use a DualSense 4 controller for the PlayStation 4 to actually play. It was more of like a 3D experience, like a sitting down experience, than an actual VR room scale experience. So those things taken into consideration, and the fact that they would later add that for, I believe, a $500 bundle with the tracking camera and the controllers, brought up the 500, only like $50 less than the launch price of the PSVR2. And adjusted for inflation, it's actually more expensive. So there's not a price hike really. On top of that, you're getting a much more competent, much better, and obviously newer, but that's just a time passage thing, VR headset in the PlayStation VR2. So price is it's not some crazy price or price hike that you didn't see with the PlayStation VR1. I just wanted to expel that one more time for you, but going on to the actual price. The price of the bundle I actually showed you, and why I wanted to do this video now, is because it is a bundle deal on this holiday sale right now. You can get this bundle from a lot of major retailers in the United States anyways for about $350 I got this at Best Buy personally. You can get this bundle with a headset and Horizon Call of the Mountain for $350 at the moment, which I believe is a $150 sale from where the PlayStation VR is usually priced at these days, which is 500, I believe. I don't believe it is priced at 550 anymore. I believe PlayStation VR2 is being sold as I believe PlayStation VR2 is being sold at $500 these days, but there is a bundle deal and a holiday deal, which I think even makes it better. I want to make the kind of ranking for both the holiday sale price and the normal price these days of 500, I believe, and just tell people kind of what my thoughts are on the price and is it worth it. So first, let's cover the traditional price of the PlayStation VR2 of $500. Out when it's out of sale, of course, and what that price is. And we're going to include the bundle just because bundles don't really change much or affect price as much. Bundles are usually always going to be around, whether it's Horizon Call of the Mountain or something else that they decide to bundle it with. Um, but yeah, I think it's still at 550, so we're going to use 550 as the main price point, not in sale. $550 for the PlayStation VR2 is a steep price. I won't deny that. That's more than a regular console is, especially if the console's on sale. For some reason it isn't. That's a steep price. $550, that price mark, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 for price. Maybe even a 2.5 out of 5 for price point out of 5. Because again, that's almost as much or more than the PlayStation 5 console, depending on which version you get and everything, of course, or if it's on sale or not. And again, it's an accessory for the PlayStation 5 at the end of the day. This is not a standalone headset, and you have to have a PlayStation 5 to run it, which means you already had to have bought an expensive gaming console. $550 is pricey for that. I won't deny that, and it's a definite concern for that. And as I said earlier, the use case for somebody who wants this is somebody who already has a PlayStation 5 or is already getting or wants a PlayStation 5 and has the money for an accessory to experience virtual reality because they want it. It is not, oh, I want a virtual reality headset. Let me get the PlayStation VR 5 and I don't even have a PlayStation 5 or didn't want one before this. That is the use case for getting this headset. And at $550, that's like a 2.5 or 3 out of 5 in my books because it is a niche, it is kind of a luxury experience, a luxury accessory, and it is a nice headset. So I can understand kind of where they're charging that. VR headsets have always kind of been somewhat expensive, but it's nothing crazy, but it's not a great deal either, considering, what I mentioned. But of the sale price, $200 off at 350, bundled with this for the holidays, I believe. I'd assume it's going to go back up to normal prices or maybe a slighter decrease after the holidays. The 350 price for this bundle, again, for the use cases I mentioned of having a PlayStation 5 or getting a PlayStation 5 and wanting the VR experience, $350 for that bundle deal is a pretty good deal. That price point, it makes it a lot more appealing and affordable to a lot of people and makes it much more of a possibility. For that price point, it's not a 2.5 or 3 out of 5 in my opinion. I'd say it's a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. Again, the thing that prevents either price point from being a 5 in my book is the fact that it's dependent on having a console that's expensive already. That's what in my book would kind of makes it not be able to be a 5, as well as some of the other downsides of some stuff I mentioned earlier about the pancake lenses, the wired connection and everything like that, and the audio not being, well, the audio is changeable of course, but out of the box, I mean, that's the stuff that don't think makes the 5 even in the perfect circumstances of the $350 holiday bundle deal. If they lowered it even more to like 300 or 250, we maybe could talk about getting into a 5. But the current thing, I'd think it's a 4 or maybe a 4.5 at best out of 5 for the price point of the holiday $350 deal bundle. So yeah, that's all the categories here. Let's wrap it up with an overall out of 10 score for the entire headset. And out of 10, I'm going to give the PlayStation VR2 an 8. This is a lower score than the Meta Quest 3, but it's still a good score for a VR headset. This is a good, comfortable, affordable somewhat if you're on a holiday deal bundle VR headset that's powerful and pretty good to use. Again, it's hard to rate something out of 10 like this with the price point being different seasonally. I'd say it's a solid 8 out of 10, especially at the price point of $350 holiday deal bundle. At a normal price point, you could argue that the PlayStation VR2 is a 7 out of 10, but it's still somewhere in that realm. So I'll probably put that in my summarized review, but just know it's a 7 or 8 out of 10 depending on the price point you're getting in that and your use case. If do you have a PlayStation 5 already or not, stuff like that. So it's a very situational rating, but I'd say a 7 or 8 depending on those price points and situations is a fair ranking for a pretty good headset that now has not only good for PlayStation VR2 and a massive upgrade from their original headset, but has PC VR capabilities, which is massive for any VR headset. So that's my overall review of the PlayStation VR2 headset, and hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts on the review, as well as if you have one, what your thoughts on the headset are, and I'll see you guys in the next video.